Before we get into today's video, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Go check out Legendary Drop, he's a phenomenal content creator. We have a lot to talk about when it comes to what's going on with Japan, what's going on with Square Enix, and how it's affecting the West. Let's get into it. So, Japan has had enough. Yes, Square Enix has pretty much left the West. For better or for worse, depending on how you feel about it. Personally, I think it's a good thing because I think that we've had too much influence on Final Fantasy games and Square games as a whole, and I think that things do need to change. Yeah, let's get into it.
Oh man, Eastern companies are leaving the West. I love this. I think that a lot of people have taken notice that a lot of games look the same, sound the same, play the same, smell the same.
It's all garbage. It smells and looks like garbage, and it plays like garbage.
And a lot of this is coming from an oppressive culture
I love his shirt. God, I love Berserk.
driven by middle management midwits that believe that their opinions, their values, their beliefs, their worldviews need to be reflected in all forms of media. And it's turned into a sort of soft censorship.
Yes, yes. There's definitely been some FIFA being a big example of this. Dragon Quest being another example, like the remake where they've just butchered that crap. Speaking of, I hope this will lead to Dragon Quest V getting a 2.5 HD remake. That would be great. That would be outstanding.
Most of these issues, nearly all of them, are being exported from here in the US, my home soil, the good US of A. And these guys are so self absorbed. They don't care about what it takes to make a good game, they don't care about the
Nope.
audience. The only thing that they can think about is shareholders, their personal or political leanings.
Give me more of my beautiful sweet girls with braids and magic stacks. For you, yes, give me more big tittied anime waifu. That's what I want. More big breasted waifus.
And their incompetence.
But go being serious though, a lot of these companies, a lot of these studios who are making these games don't actually give a shit about the audience because and I've stated this before, where I feel like they say they wanna hit this, like, certain audience types and then totally neglect their core audience. They neglect what made them who they are or who made them who they are, the ones that will buy the games, because when you're making these games for people who aren't even going to buy your games, and I don't understand it. I think it's insane.
And their influence doesn't just extend to their games, it's now extended overseas. And this has turned into a sort of cultural erasure. We're going to call it colonization because, we're pretty good at that.
I call them tourists.
And the East is sick of it. They don't want to have anything to do with it anymore. So you have companies like Square Enix that are closing down shop, they're laying off workers, and they're
Thank
consolidating their efforts
God.
back in Japan because they feel like that's the best place for them to be making games.
And I hope this leads to a renaissance for Final Fantasy because the thing was is Final Fantasy changed around 10 and 2. 10 was amazing. It's my favorite game in the series, but 10-2 is absolute dog water. And so I'm hoping this leads to a resurgence and a renaissance of Final Fantasy. I don't think that this Western influence happened during like the 10-2 to 16 stuff. I really don't think so. I just think that when Squaresoft merged with Enix, that's when it changed.
And the funny thing is that for whatever reason, nobody has taken notice that this has been going on for a while now, 5 years in the making. Japan is not
At
alone
least.
in this. No, you've had companies in China, companies in Korea, as well as other companies in Japan that have been pulling their efforts out of the West and bringing them back home, trimming the fat, so to say. So today I want to talk about why that's happening. I want to talk about why Japan's biggest publisher is pulling back. I want to talk about
That was a good comment. They don't even really care about the politics. It's just pandering. Ironically, the Japanese are better at portraying gay dudes than the West. Bulat from Kill a Kill, Gladiator from Super Crooks, Dion from Final Fantasy 16. Oh yeah. Oh, I agree. I totally agree. I think the Japanese, because they do things the way they do things is it's like Metaphor, Refantasio. There's this narrative that you could consider woke or political or whatever, but they do it so well that it doesn't feel forced or shoved down your throat or anything like that. Um, and their sexuality isn't the entirety of their character. Yes, Dragon Age the Veilguard, we're looking at you. So, yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. Dion was a very well done character in Final Fantasy 16. As much shit as I give Final Fantasy, they did do Dion very well.
Why Japan's government is telling their artists to stop taking notes from the West, and why I think this is going to start a creative split that we haven't seen since the 90s. It couldn't happen any sooner.
Probably
A
like
lot
close
of
to
games media has
120,
spent the last
100 to
past couple of
120.
years mourning the layoffs, the studio closures, the failed games. They've been blaming the economy, inflation, tariffs, whatever the trending excuse is for that quarter. But what I don't think a lot of people
We were just talking about this game.
have understand, or at least caught on to, is that this is not an industry-wide collapse. It's not global. I think what we're watching right now is the Western games apocalypse. It's one that's built on greed, idealism, ego, and the slow
I wouldn't even say it's the Western games collapse. I think it's a triple A collapse. I think that it's the collapse of triple A gaming.
erasure of individualism in a space that used to thrive on distinct voices. You can feel it in just about everything that comes out from a AAA publisher today. These games do not carry the identity of the people or the studios that are making them. No, they carry the identity of one culture center, one value system. And because of that,
Isn't that
they're getting
such a great
trapped in this
game?
binary state. Either you have a game that is designed purely to wring as
I can make a joke, but I'm gonna leave it alone.
much money out of its customers as possible, or you have a game that's pushing a set of values, trying to win points in a culture that's more polarized than it's ever been. Profit over enjoyment on one side, moral projection on the other. What this has led to is more and more games, whether
Okay. That was Outer Worlds. It's a fun game, okay? It is fun.
they're made in the
Got
West
one
or
of the best
simply
combat.
influenced by
It's
the
so
West, and they're
good.
releasing to an audience that simply
It's
doesn't
so
exist.
good.
The same thing is happening in movies and TV. This isn't some hit piece on anyone's beliefs or values, by the way.
Again, I there's a lot of stuff in Outer Worlds that's their character design is ugly as sin, and some of the side characters are not the best, but the combat and the story is really
People can
good.
believe whatever they want to. The issue is when the expectation is that everybody else is required to bend to them.
It's definitely triple as indie Western games don't exactly. I mean, I can list a bunch of, Western games that are really good. Expedition 33 and Baldur's Gate 3 off the top of my head. So,
Agree to them and then pay for content that's built around selling someone else's worldview. This would be fine if it all stayed in the West, but of course it didn't. Whether it's the obsession with live service or the urge to export values the same way we export
live service games need to die.
entertainment, this mindset has pushed itself into Eastern studios too, and the result has been pretty predictable. Bad localization, censorship, outright bans, forced adjustments to character designs and art.
Mhm.
You don't have to be a part of any culture war to get hit in the crossfire. You just got to be making games or playing games. And slowly, piece by piece, these studios have been surrendering parts of themselves, parts of their own identity, because somebody else decided that their work needed to fit into a Western mold of what's acceptable. And this is something that I think was echoed perfectly by the creator of Dragon Quest last year when he was asked why designs for
What did I say? What did I say about Dragon Quest? Why did they do this? Why did they do why does she have shorts on? You know, it's great. Just pissing on the grave of Akira Toriyama. Just peeing on it. The great Akira Toriyama, the guy who made Dragon Ball. Yeah, let's just piss on his designs.
Dragon Quest III Remake were being censored.
いろするとね、年齢が上がっちゃうっていうね。全年齢じゃなくなってしまうっていうのがあったりとか。
ルールがやっぱなんか各国違ったりするんでね、広く売ろうと思うと一番厳しいところに合わせざるを
Let's read that again. Oh, let's go back. We're gonna read that again. There's a lot of buzz about the costumes. It became topic of discussion because they weren't exactly the same as they were back then.
Remake were being censored.
露出すると
If
ね、
there's too
年
much
齢が上がっ
exposure,
ちゃ
the
うって
age
いう
rating
ね。
goes up.
全年齢じゃなくなってしまうってい
It
うのがあっ
means we won't be able to
ルー
sell
ル
it
がやっ
as
ぱなん
all
か各
ages.
国違ったり
Rules vary from country to country when trying to sell widely. There's the issue of having to comply with the strictest regulations.
するんでね。
It's not that deep. It's not that deep.
広く売ろうと思うと一番
Yes, you're if you're trying to sell things in the Middle East, I get it, but it's not that deep.
厳しいところに合わせざるを得ないと
For
か。
で
China.
も
当時そんなこと思わなかったですけどね。
コンプラっていう名のねやっぱりねある種のねなんだろうな絶対心というべき、善の名
Devil
を借りた悪み
disguised
たい
as
なのが
good. Ooh.
全員が不快感を覚え
There's no such thing as content that doesn't make everyone uncomfortable. I could not have put that better myself. Someone is always going to complain and why or some about anything. And somebody's going to get uncomfortable with whatever it may be. But we got to stop treating certain things with kid gloves. Understanding when it's the characters that are 12 years old, like Tita, but it also baffles me when they're adult women who get censored. Correct. It doesn't make any sense. These are not real people. They're fictional characters, 2D animations. Again, I don't like lolly. I'm totally against lolly. And Tita's like 10, so obviously I wouldn't want that either. You know, it's just there is nuance with this, of course. At the end of the day, these are fictional characters. They're 2D drawings.
ないなんてことはないわけ。
Under the name of compliance, it's like an absolute god, and evil disguised as good. Man, that line goes so hard. You know, this dude makes banger games. We went from starting wars over oil to telling girls to put on a shirt. My deepest apologies to the
Yeah, when did we become conservative?
rest
You
of
know
the
what I
world.
mean?
This brand of ideologically driven censorship is not just coming from Western game studios, it's coming from ratings boards, governments, and worst of all, credit card companies. These are the people who are basically telling
Yeah, that's ridiculous, by the way. So a little bit of lore behind the credit card company things. They're threatening to take their payment processing away from like Steam if they don't get rid of like H games and stuff like that, which is just absolutely insane.
these artists and these creators
People
bend
can
to
use
our
their money
values
the
or
way
we
they
will
want
break
to.
you financially. And the irony is that even with all this self-censorship, even with all the compromised creative directions, these companies are still losing money, a lot of money, because nobody wants to buy the end result. And those financial
Yeah.
losses have not stayed contained.
Imagine that you make a game for people who aren't going to buy it and no one buys it, instead of making a game for the people who will buy it and will be able to spread the word about how good that game is, and then it sells even better than you expect. What a concept.
They have sent shockwaves across the ocean. Eastern governments are finally starting to wake up to what's happening, and they're actually doing something about it. Japan's Ministry of Economy, Trade, and Industry stepped up to defend its creative industries, especially games, manga, and anime, pushing growth while rejecting Western interference and restrictions being forced on them by global platforms and payment processors.
And Sweet Baby Inc.
The ministry's new policy lays out 5 key principles: large-scale, long-term strategic support, support for spreading Japan-made content globally, no interference in content of creative works, direct support for creators and companies, prioritizing those willing to take risks. And now I love to see a government actually stepping up to protect its
And I do want to just kind of point out too, the world in the is changing right now. Before there was like a lot of censorship when it came to people being themselves and not saying what they want to say. I think, you know, as a content creator, we have to do that ourselves. There are things that I will say off stream that I will never say on stream. And it goes for any content creator that you watch or you care about. It's just a fact. But this was happening in video games too. And people are tired of it. People are sick of being told, "You can't like this, you can't watch that, you can't play this." And now you're seeing this shift in mentality where I think that these gaming companies are also starting to adapt and starting to go, "Okay, we need to get away from what we've been doing because it's not working." And clearly, the majority of gamers and the majority of the market doesn't like it.
Local industries. And the best part is these guys are not doing it alone. No, these companies are starting to fight back too, not with speeches, but with their budgets. Because when the West is trying to bully you into submission, you got to remember there's only one language to speak, and that language is money. Stop
Yep,
investing in them,
correct.
stop hiring them, stop relying on them, and they will change their tune. And that's exactly what some of these Eastern game companies have started doing. Every major publisher in the East has been systematically rolling back their Western footprint, consolidating their efforts back home. In 2024, Nexon laid off hundreds of workers at Nexon America under the banner of exciting IP growth strategy. Tencent has closed 3 Western studios and laid off hundreds of workers. NetEase shut down 6 Western studios, adding to more than a dozen closures since 2022. And now, Square Enix is joining them. In an article from IGN written by Rebecca Valentine titled Square Enix Undergoes Mass Layoffs as it Reorganizes to Consolidate Development in Japan. Rebecca
You'd love to see it. You love to see it. Uh, Creator got bullied by his own community for Christian conservative despite keeping that private because someone doxed his donations. Let's ignore how progressive and accepting he has been towards his community because he voted a way they don't like. I can talk about that for a long time. And again, this is stuff that I talk about off stream. All I'm gonna say is I totally agree with you. Completely agree with you. There's no however, there's no but. I completely agree with you. It is a there's no nuance in any sort of discussion anymore when it comes to anything political, uh, at all. It's you're this or you're that. I played Harry Potter, the wizard game, right? The boogeyman, and people were getting doxxed over it, harassed and whatnot because of J.K. Rowling. What? I understand the backlash to her, but it's a fucking video game.
writes, via public posts from former employees, as well as confirmation from internal sources, IGN has learned that employees in the UK and the US are being informed of layoffs today, with an unknown number of US employees being dismissed by the end of the week and a possible 137 jobs at risk in the UK. Under UK law, Square Enix must undergo redundancy consultations to see if any jobs can potentially be saved, so the final number in the UK can be smaller. It's not clear yet which teams will be impacted by this or to what extent. Internally, a slide presentation, now publicly available, was also shared with employees earlier today, offered a progress report on Square Enix's ongoing reorganization of overseas organizations, of which this restructuring seems to be a part of.
I just want to point out what this all means, okay? We're firing a lot of people. Just a very nice way of saying it.
Per Square Enix, this strategy already involved closing overseas development studios and shifting towards consolidating development functions in Japan. As a part of this, Square Enix already sold off Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal, and a number of associated IPs to Embracer Group. It also laid off workers across its Western operations in 2024. That leaves Square Enix with Life is Strange, Outriders, and the Just Cause franchises currently being managed by its Western studios, as well as publishing of the Power Wash Simulator. I mean, can you blame them? Think about the kind of money that Square Enix is burning just by keeping these Western teams afloat. We're talking about studios that are getting paid Silicon Valley rates to churn out flops and drag the
And
company's overall
garbage and
performance as
slop.
well
Yeah.
as their reputation. I saw a salary comparison last year that blew my mind. The average starting salary for a game developer in San Francisco was over $100,000. In Tokyo, it's less than $20,000. One American developer cost them the equivalent of 5 Japanese developers.
I think there's discussion though to be made about currency and whatnot on it. The more positive thing.
or depending on how you want to look at it, one American
We
developer
will
is
see.
actively contributing to why Japanese developers are getting paid so little. That's what Western expansion looks like on a balance sheet. And look at the franchises they just mentioned. Just Cause hasn't mattered in ages. Outriders
Yeah, no.
exploded out of the gate and then just immediately collapsed. And Life is Strange. Listen, I'm not going to judge anybody. It's just not my type of game.
Yeah,
but
same.
even then, how many times do we have to hear 20 million players? What does that even mean? Are those downloads, promotions? Is it Game Pass? There's commercial
It's lies.
performance there, I'm sure, but I'm not sure that it's trending upward. No matter how many spin-offs or different DLCs they put out, it just hasn't caught on after that. Almost every single Western developed, Western published, or Western influenced project that Square Enix has touched has lost money. Marvel's Avengers was a generational disaster. Babylon's Fall died instantly. And Forspoken, man, I don't even know where to start with that
We pretend Forspoken doesn't exist.
one. But I do know why it happened. Misplaced influence, misplaced values, misplaced confidence, people pretending to represent the audience when they only want to represent themselves. And that mindset, that slow, creeping, boardroom approved ideological drift spread through Square Enix like a cancer. It erased their identity, their voice, and their sense of artistry. It turned a company that has been known
I don't think that's necessarily, it didn't help. I'll put it that way. They were on the downfall for quite some time. I don't think it helped. I really don't.
for some of the most imaginative games on the planet into one that couldn't stop greenlighting projects that nobody asked for. And when those losses kept piling up, I think they woke up. I think they finally realized they were being pulled in the wrong direction, not just in the West, but inside their own walls in Japan, because that influence didn't stay overseas. It bled into the creative core of the company, and that's when the alarm bell started ringing. These publishers are doing exactly what they need to be doing right now. While there's still a few West
Firing people in the West. Isn't Forspoken made by the same people who did Final Fantasy 15? That is a good question. I want to say the answer is no. I don't think that was creative business unit 2. Don't think so. I'm gonna look this up. Don't think that was CBU 2. Oh, it was Luminous. Yeah, no, it's Square was just the publisher. Yeah, it was Luminous Gaming. Yeah. No, FF15 was created by, okay, no, you're correct. We're both right. It's Luminous Productions, former Final Fantasy 15 staff, which should tell you everything that you need to know. That should tell you everything that you need. 15's I don't want to rant
Western
about
developers
15.
and Western
I'll
studios
talk
and
about
Western
that game for
games that are
25 to
absolutely
30 minutes if I
fantastic.
do.
These are studios that are living outside of the machine. They're not chained to the social political nightmare that we are entered into almost every single day. And while I'm sure this message won't reach you, you're doing the right thing. We need some time alone. Think about how much pressure these guys are under right now. They have ratings boards that are censoring them for showing too much skin. They have credit card companies that are withholding their money, cutting their distribution, delisting their games, or just outright flatlining their sales. The government are bought out by these credit card companies. And then you have Western media that is going to drag their games if they don't align with their ideological views.
Yep.
They're getting it from every single end. I couldn't imagine how these guys could take it any longer. No wonder they're fed up right now. This is the best thing that they can do. Absolutely, it's the best thing that they can do. They need to quarantine themselves. And better yet, the best way to be able to fix the West is stop letting them get a piece of the pie. Stop giving them money. Stop giving them jobs.
Stop trying to pander to the West and an audience that doesn't exist. Stop doing that.
I mean, look at how fast the manga and anime industries have grown over the past couple of years. I mean, the Chainsaw Man movie and the Demon Slayer movie absolutely just destroyed at the box office. All you got to do is wait them out. They'll come crawling back.
I haven't seen Chainsaw Man or the new Demon. I have to finish Demon Slayer, like the last 2 arcs or something like that. I'm not caught up yet.
They just need to make their own games. Don't listen to anybody else. Ignore everything that's going on over here. If you just make your own games, I can promise you it's probably going to be the best games that you've made in the past decade. We're going to buy it. I can tell you that right now.
Yes, I
We
agree.
actually already know that's the case because for all of the studios that have ignored any of this Western influence or any of this censorship that a lot of these guys have been put under, any of these people that are making games that are unapologetically Korean or Japanese or Chinese, every single one of these guys have found success. Too many games feel the same. There is so little distinction left between where any of
They're soulless. A lot of the games now are completely soulless. They have no sense of identity. They just there's nothing. They feel empty 9 times out of 10. They just feel like empty games. Like, as much as like I said, I love Outer Worlds 2, there is a part that just feels like empty, and I think it's some of it's the characters.
these games are coming from, that more than half the time, the only real identifier we have is the damn company logo. One of the clearest moments for me where this all just kind of hit me like a truck was Expedition 33. Sandfall is a French studio. That was a French game. That game didn't just have a French coat of paint, it lived in that artistic spirit. When I think of French art, I think of wild abandon, melancholy, and desperation, an obsession with creative expression. And Expedition 33, that game just carried it like oxygen. But of course it did, because that game came from a small team working outside the high walls of the modern games industry, far and away from all these committees and these shareholders that are just flattening
And the bullshit and the politics and the garbage and the we need to appeal to the modern audience, whatever the hell that is.
everything into the same shape. Now we compare that to Ubisoft, the biggest French publisher in the world. And honestly, can any of you guys tell me or point out anything that just feels French in any of their products? I'm not saying that these games need to be stereotypically French. I don't need to be having mimes doing stealth kills, though that does actually sound kind of cool. But
That does sound
look
badass.
at their earlier work, Rayman, Prince of Persia, the first few Assassin's Creed games. There was a real sense of craftsmanship there, a voice. You could see it in the artistry. They still have some flashes like that with Anno, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, and Rogue, but those are crumbs. Those aren't the focus. When you look at their main output, Rainbow Six, X Defiant before it died, Far Cry, The Division, whatever their annualized Assassin's Creed game is going to be, there is nothing French about any of it. There's barely anything distinct about it. Ubisoft has been copying their American competitors for years, dancing to the same tune as EA and Activision, and they aren't alone in doing it. Other publishers have been doing the same. This all started for one simple reason, money. And honestly, fair enough. You want to make what sells. Military shooters and
agree.
open world games for printing cash, so everybody's going to follow that trend. That's globalization 101. Bend your product's identity to sell to the biggest consumer market. And that market was the US, and the US sits on top of the global GDP charts. And almost 70% of that is coming from consumer spending. We buy a ridiculous amount of stuff. So if you're a company anywhere in the world, of course you're going to want to sell to Americans. And for a while, the studios that pander to American audiences made an absurd amount of money doing it. But what happens when Western audiences
They became lazy, by the way.
stop liking Western games? Because that's exactly where we are today, and I think that's a sign that this industry desperately needs to go back to its roots. And I think this split between the East and the West, with these Eastern publishers consolidating their efforts back home, I think that's going to get us there. If you guys want to know what I mean by going back to your roots, just look back to the last time this industry faced a split like this, back in the 1990s. That was the last era where the East and the West were not trying to copy each
Again, 16 is a fine game. It's fine. The story is good. It's Yoshi P though. It's bloated. It has too much stuff in it. It is just not. It's not it for me.
other. They weren't trying to appeal to the same audience, the same reviewers, the same value systems. These guys were just making games the way that they made games. Japan was not looking over their shoulder at America. They weren't thinking about global markets, Western censorship, or what any of these ratings boards would have to say. They were just locked into their own culture, their own imagination, their own voice. And what came out of that era? Some of the best games ever made. Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Metal Gear, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Chrono Trigger.
Mario
all these
Kart,
games built on
Mario
identity,
Brothers.
not trend chasing.
Donkey Kong.
Meanwhile, the West had their own thing
Pokemon.
going on. Doom, Ultima, Fallout, Half-Life, an explosion of PC games that
Warcraft,
had
StarCraft.
nothing to do with what Japan was making. Two creative ecosystems, two identities, two visions, and both were thriving. Nobody was trying to homogenize anything. Nobody was being told to appeal to anyone because they didn't need to. And that's the part that people forget. The last time that Japan ignored the West, well, they entered into their golden age.
You mentioned Trigun. That's my favorite anime of all time. Final Fantasy X, Lupin the Third, Blood Blockade, Battlefront, etc. Yeah, modern media is just so watered down, and because they're trying to appeal to people who are sensitive, like just emotionally sensitive, um, and will scream about anything, and it just doesn't work because most of those people aren't going to consume the media at all. They're just not going to. They don't care about it. They're just going to scream about it. It's really that simple. BPP. Okay, I'll definitely check that out.
As much as I hate to say it, I think the best example that this industry needs to follow creatively, not legally, is Nintendo. Outside of how shamelessly they've been phoning in the Pokemon series, they have remained the same company for
Yeah,
decades.
they
The
haven't
same
changed.
identity, the same focus, the
They
same
literally have not
creative
changed.
voice. They have ignored aging audiences. They have ignored whatever
Yeah, because they'll sue you if you try to do anything to them.
trends the rest of the industry is chasing, and they have laughed their way to the bank while everybody else
I remember that, like, Kotaku or something like that got, like, a copy of, what's Breath of the Wild? Was it Breath of the Wild? They, like, downloaded, like they released their, review before they were supposed to, and Nintendo was like, just shut them off completely.
has been scrambling to
Yeah, it's
survive,
like,
and it
"Don't do that,"
works
and then Kotaku just,
so
like, tried to, like,
simply. They have built
throw them
the
under the bus.
perfect
It's
model
so
for an
funny.
overseas publisher. Nintendo is split into Nintendo Japan and Nintendo America. The American side handles the publishing, marketing, localization, customer support, all surface level necessities of a Western presence. But every ounce of creativity, every major design, every game that defines their identity is made in Japan. That structure lets them rely on the people they trust in the West to be able to promote their games while keeping their culture, their artistry,
God bless Donkey
and their
Kong.
vision isolated from all of the noise. And now this is where my stance might rub people the wrong way, but I think
If only they stopped milking Breath of the Wild style for Legend of Zelda. I
it's
think
the
they're gonna
truth.
change
I am
it.
a cultural
I think
essentialist.
that's what
I
I've
think that
heard.
collaboration can produce some
They're going in
incredible things,
another new
sure.
direction. Might
But
be like Wind
cultural
Waker
expression, the
style or
real
something.
stuff, the
I think
stuff that
they're
really
changing it,
lasts,
though.
comes from a unified culture of making something for yourself, not for the world at large. The broader your target audience becomes, the more your creative voice gets lost. And once it's diluted, it's gone. And right now, one of the biggest problems in game design
I
today
totally
is that
agree with what you
dilution,
just
that
said.
flattening, that desperate attempt to try to appeal
So
to anyone.
it goes back to what I was saying about, like, when you try to, market towards a broader audience or a big audience, it's like you just totally, completely lose your way because now you don't have a focus anymore. You're trying to focus on the wrong things instead of, like, the things that make you good.
And everyone and end up
You lose
appealing
sight
to
of who
no
you are.
one. You can feel the consequences of this everywhere. You feel it when the best JRPG in the past decade comes from France instead of Japan.
I wouldn't say it's the best JRPG in the last decade. Well, no, technically, again, I always have to say this. It's not a JRPG because it's not from Japan. It's JRPG-like. Um, it's JR that or Persona. Well, when didn't Persona 5 come out in 2015? I think it did. So the last decade would be 2015.
You feel it when Final Fantasy convinces themselves that younger generations don't care about anything other than action games and
And soy shit. Yeah, I know.
rewrite their entire
An action game. Yeah, they wanna let's make Final Fantasy into Devil May Cry. Yeah, exactly.
creative signature to be able to match a belief that isn't even grounded in reality.
No, it's not.
You see it
It's
across this
bullshit.
entire industry. Identity is being muted, culture is being
It's
blurred
bullshit.
out, and every major franchise
Yeah, let's change Final Fantasy from a turn-based JRPG that, has, like, heart and soul and whatever into just a smash the buttons, win the game.
is starting to
It's
feel like a
ridiculous.
remix of the same ideas, the same influences, and the same values. When I look at the biggest Eastern titles over the last couple of years, I think that the reason why these games resonated so deeply is because they didn't feel like Western games. They didn't try to. They represented a cultural
Black Myth
worldview that was
Wukong,
completely
Stellar Blade.
outside of our own.
Yeah.
And because of that, everybody wanted to play it. They pushed against the grain of what the Western industry has been insisting games actually should be, even though we've been telling them it's exactly what they shouldn't be. take Stellar Blade. There is no
There
shot
we go.
anyone in the West
There we
is
go.
going to make a character that looks like Eve or even half the other women that are in that game. And we know that's the case because almost every Western reviewer had something negative to say about it. Not because the game was bad, but because the character designs didn't align with their personal values. They
How dare there be hot women in a video game?
then misrepresented its
Insane.
quality. They
How dare
lectured
they
the
do that?
audience, and they were shocked when players loved it anyway. Then you got Black Myth Wukong, a game that
Wow, I
took
just
the
named
world
2
by
from-
storm.
I did not
Western media
rewatch this.
dragged it too, and again, it didn't matter. None of those voices, none of those noises mattered. What only mattered was how the players received the game, and the players saw something that they had never experienced before, a window into one of the oldest cultures on Earth, based on a story older than most languages, wrapped in style and tone that nobody else could replicate. Sure, it shares some DNA with some third-person action games, but that was the only familiar thing about it. And it's not just those two. Metaphor ReFantazio, Lies of P, Persona, Digimon Time Strangers,
It's like he's saying everything that I want to say. He's literally listing all the games that I listed.
Granblue Fantasy Relink. God, I love that game. Elden Ring, Armored Core 6. God, I love that one too. You can throw the gacha games into this pile. The reason why these games have succeeded and why they've continued to succeed is because they have something that the West has completely lost.
Heart and
A
soul.
distinct, unfiltered creative voice.
They lost their soul.
There is something unique and irreplaceable about these games, a perspective that we can't find anywhere else because it
That's
comes
correct.
straight from the heart of that culture that made them. No dilution, no moral committees,
bullshit.
no value laundering, just
There's
an
no bullshit.
unadulterated vision, fully expressed with no apologies and no compromises. And players respond to that because we can feel that authenticity, even when we can't articulate it all the way. We know when a game is speaking with its own voice and when it's speaking with somebody else's. I just think that everybody needs to get out of everybody else's business and the world would be a better place. And
I
so would
agree.
video games. LD for president 2028. That's my campaign. Hopefully I don't sound like too much of a tool when I say something like this, but you know, this is something that I think extends to just about every country and every creative vision that's out there. I wish American games would go back to being about bros. You guys remember that? It was bros with swords. We had bros
Yeah, it was gigantic jack dudes who wanted to beat up other gigantic jack dudes. It was
with
great.
cars and bros with guns, swords, and cars.
Yes.
I miss when blood feuds could only be solved through violence and not friendship and hugs at the very end. I don't need games to have a moral of the story. There doesn't have to be any morals at all. I just want it to be badass. I think that
You don't like girl bosses. I'm right there with you. It's like behave like absolute jerks and narcissists. There's only one character I know of that can do that, and it was amazing. Laura Croft.
Space Marine 2 proved that pretty well. You know, when I'm talking about some of these Eastern games, I'm not just talking about Japan. It also extends to Eastern Europe. It also just extends to Europe overall in some cases. I mean, Stalker 2, for all the problems that game had, it was the most Eurojank Ukrainian game ever, and I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Kingdom Come Deliverance, that Blood of the Dawnwalker game that's going to come from the CD Projekt Red guys that left. That one looks really
Oh
cool.
yeah, no, I
Tainted
have
Grail,
that. I have that.
Fall
I
of
follow them.
Avalon. Dude, game was awesome. That's the most European game ever. I need that shit. I want more of that. Give me more of that. I think the best way for this industry to get back to some of the best days that we've ever
They need to
seen
get back to
before is for them just
basics.
to isolate themselves, hide yourself from the noise and
I think
people
they need
that are
to get
trying
back
to
to basics.
influence you into whatever
always been saying
direction they're
that.
trying to push you. Players appreciate an authentic voice. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for right now. It's what sets you apart from your competition. It's what makes you stand out in a lot of cases. And I'm not of the mind that anybody needs to pander to the Western audience whatsoever.
Nope.
We are not a monolith. We never have been, for all I know. And we're definitely not one right now. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is just make a game that you want to play, make the game that you want to make, hedge your bets, and make sure that you're not spending too much money, and just hope for the best. That's all you can really do. I'm really interested to see where this all goes. I really am. These guys cutting jobs, taking a lot of money away from some of these Western guys. I mean, it costs them a lot of money to be able to develop here. And then you have all of the extra cultural baggage that's coming along with that.
Yep.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I just don't see a reason in why anybody would want to come and develop games here. It's too expensive to do so, and there's just too many problems that you're gonna have. So I think this is gonna be a part of a much broader trend. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sony also go in this direction, or maybe another company. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm absolutely tired. I'm gonna go to bed. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. I'll catch you guys on stream. This should come out on Friday. Share the video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. Stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Peace.
I'm not subscribed to him on this on my channel. Make sure you subscribe. That was amazing because he's 100% correct. I agree with everything he says. A lot of these game companies, they keep pandering to an audience that doesn't even exist, and that has been a problem with Square and games like it's places like that for a while now. You can't. I know I'm saying this a lot. You can't just say, "Okay, we're gonna appeal to this broad audience that doesn't exist," lose all sense of self, all sense of who and what made us who we are, and then wonder why you're not making money. Your audience that you cultivated over the years wants nothing to do with it. It's kind of like when, content creators all of a sudden they change their style and then people are like, I don't know if I really care for that so much. It's like that. So I don't know, but this was a great video. Make sure you guys go check out Legendary Drops. Go like and sub to this channel. Go check out this video. And yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Like and subscribe to my channel. Bye everyone.